All right, and just like that, we are live. A little later than anticipated, but hey, we had some remaining rummage sale sales to make, and I had to do what I had to do. But again, thank you so much to the couple folks that showed up a little bit early here. Thank you to everyone that's going to come hang out this Sunday evening for us all to get together, talk about the things that we've done, ask a couple questions. Let's see where the night takes us. So, let me get into the chat first of all. Matt Dawson, thank you so much for stopping by. Love pretty much all the content you got going on, especially any mow you can get out front with your neighbor's horse. Love me a good Great Dane or whatever sort of dog that is. Nate Nissan, I assume anyway it's Nissan, pronounced like the car. Happy Sunday. Been talking to him a little bit about nice little practice facility he's got at his house on Instagram. Lawn Analyst, good evening. Thank you so much for stopping. And Kenny Cooper, appreciate you stopping by as well. So, what have we been up to? What have we been doing? Well, this week I put out the weeknight lawn work video where I cut the fairway, cut the green earlier in the day. And then I got the first of what will be probably a handful of disease applications on my pine trees. So if you didn't catch that video, essentially I have some sort of, I don't know what it's called. It's a leaf blight issue, disease, something with the needles on the pine tree. And basically they get diseased. The tree is diseased. The needles die and then fall off. And then basically because the tree doesn't have any needles, the tree eventually dies. So I'm treating it with a copper fungicide that seems to be working. Talk with an arborist. Apparently that is the right strategy to use to go about healing them up. And apparently if I just do that for 3-4 years and stay on top of it, they'll come back and be alive and well. So then this weekend we had rummage sale all weekend, which was actually quite a bit of fun. Basically we had all of our, not necessarily because we sold a bunch of stuff, but we had various family members over throughout the whole weekend and just hanging out. My parents came down Friday night. So they were here hanging out Saturday and Sunday. So me and my dad spent quite a bit of time just hanging out on the putting green, which is cool. It's my favorite thing about having that is just kind of the brother-in-law joined in on it. All of us out there kind of hanging around, and it's just a great kind of backyard thing to have and mess around with. So finally I have germination in the side yard. That took like 12 or 13 days to get ryegrass to germinate over there because the temperatures have been so goofy. Saturday it finally rained, which is nice. We've been having massive droughts here in southeastern Wisconsin. It hasn't wanted to rain at all. It's been awful. So we got like 0.4 of an inch of rain yesterday, which was a nice little surprise. And then I think finally now it's going to get into the 70s. It's going to rain and it's not going to be so just miserable and cold and dry all the time. So we should really start to get everything kicking into gear. Good to go. Kenny, I actually was using Flora-Green, and I think that it definitely helped to get the tree to drive some new growth. And then basically the only hope with that disease is you're supposed to be treating the new growth. But the arborist told me to knock it off with fertilizing it, because apparently you're not supposed to. That stresses the tree out when it's diseased, so you're not supposed to do that. But it was working. And I think I made quite a bit of progress on those pines last year doing that. So maybe it would have been fine and maybe I should keep doing that. I don't know. Yeah, Kenny, we were fortunate here. It wasn't really supposed to rain at all. Not fortunate because it rained out pretty much the entire Saturday of our rummage sale, but it just kind of sprinkled all day and managed to get us about 0.4 of an inch. So it's something. It had been like 2 weeks since the last time it rained. So around the house with Pat, happy Sunday. Appreciate having you here again. That's awesome. Seeing you every weekend. I really appreciate it. And Backwoods Lawn Care, our last weekend's guest. Appreciate you stopping by as well. So, I was mentioning finally fortunate enough to have some germination over in my side yard, and most excitingly, it is germinating underneath the pine trees in the heavy shade, which is really nice because That's been dirt since we moved in the fall of 2018. And if I can get some grass to grow under there and actually get that side yard area looking really nice, I cannot wait. That'll be extremely exciting because I haven't been able to cut over there with the Gravely, with the 48-inch deck. It scalps over there so badly that I've been having to cut it with the Honda, which is not great for time. Although if I get it smooth enough, I might end up real mowing that area over there, which will actually just add more time. But it'll be more fun. So been taking some walks around trying to figure out what my plan of action is. I'm really hoping that I've sprayed some weeds back on the fairway as well. Those are starting to die off, which is a nice touch that hopefully the weeds will get out of the way and we can let the bent grass and whatever other trash grasses are back there start to take over and see how well that can all get managed at 4/10 of an inch for fairway height for the putting green. And the buckthorn's starting to grow back that we all got cut down. So that's going to be a big project to try to figure out how to keep that in some semblance of decent shape because there's just a lot going on. I already have put out 4 gallons from a backpack sprayer of glyphosate across all of my various landscape beds underneath the pine trees and the wood chips, around the deck and the wood chips, and the garden and the wood chips, the other landscape bed around the pine trees, the back in the parking lot section. Oh, there's just a lot of room that still needs a lot of love, despite the fact that we're now entering our 3rd season in this house. There's just so much to do at literally all times. But yeah, finally have all my mowers back up and running. The Gravely was out of commission for a little bit, but I got new valve push rod and the nut and set screw for the valves there. So I got that all back together, which was a top tier accomplishment for me. That was very, very exciting to have to get the valve adjustment correct on all of that and do that correctly. So that's cool. If I can do it, you can do all that stuff too. So don't be afraid of those things if you are. Let's see. Papa Mo's Low, what's up, man? Thank you so much for stopping by. Matt Dawson coming back, giving a hello to everyone. Yeah, that's got to be the one drawback, Papa Mo's Low, of cutting short is pretty much you go away for a couple days and everything just goes haywire. One thing, so I did the video on the PGR. So this last week I've been researching because I had no idea how often you're supposed to apply that. Like I can read the label and see like, hey, this is how we're supposed to. This is how you apply it. This is the rate that you apply it. This is how you go about applying it. And this is what it's going to do. That's all very simple. But the label, I don't believe, at least that I found, doesn't give a reapplication time. So I've been fortunate enough for me, the University of Wisconsin-Madison, which is like an hour from my house, did a Trinexapac ethyl study a while back to figure out what is the growing degree days that you want to use for bent grass to never let it rebound and just keep it under regulation all year. So I know that now. Syngenta, the Greencast, Greencast has a growth degree day calculator that they can use so that I don't have to worry about doing that. And so I know now every 200 0 degrees Celsius growing degree days, every 200 days, I will be reapplying the plant growth regulator so I can figure that out. So if that isn't something you've messed around with, it seems fairly simple to use. It seems to at least list on the label, and from everything I can see, do a ton of good things for the plant, and it'll help you with mowing. But let's see. Got a mowing today as well. Looking at possible rain most days this week. Yeah, I'm looking at the same, which is a breath of fresh air. It's going to be days in the 70s and like chances of thunderstorms and rain quite a few days. I think starting Tuesday, and then like a 30 or 40% chance of rain every day, which we need it so badly. I could use a week like that. Heading to Louisville to buy a dirt cheap Jacobsen tomorrow morning. Matt, I wish you the best of luck. The YouTube community has not had a lot of luck with Jacobsen, so hopefully you will be the first. Speaking of the Jacobsen, it turns out actually that my Jacobsen was done like 3 days after I dropped it off in Chicago, like the next Tuesday or Wednesday. Apparently they called me, but for whatever reason they hand wrote all of these notes, and they like gave it to me to handwrite my phone number and contact information on. And I don't have great handwriting. So apparently the 1 that's in my phone number they thought was a 7. So I don't know who they've been calling to tell me that that my lawnmower is done, but apparently the greens mower is done. So hopefully, I don't know, I might be playing golf on Friday, so I might not be able to get it Friday, but hopefully at some point I'll get down there and pick that up. So I bought that Jacobsen for $800, and by and large the machine is in very good condition. There was just something going on with the reel drive system. I didn't ask when I talked to him. I didn't ask what they had fixed, but with the reel grind and just a general service, and then whatever they had to fix, about $500. So I'll be into that mower for about $1,300. I still think I'm basically going to get back a brand new greens mower. So I think that's a fairly good deal for what I got. Not nearly as good of a deal as I got from George on the Greensmaster though. But it's also probably 20 years older than the Jacobsen that I have. But hopefully, Matt, that you will be the one that just gets a mint Jacobsen and it works flawlessly for you all the time. Breaking a rule of lawn care while watching and watering my lawn. I need rain. Yeah, so are you saying you're watering right now overnight? I do a ton of watering into the evening, and it's never really been that bad. Mowing every other day to keep it to 1/3 rule. Yeah, I haven't had to. Like my grass, just because of the conditions that we've had here, the temperatures have been really low and we have no rain. So like my yard jumped up early because we had, like, in the beginning of April, it was 70 for 3-4 days. Everything woke up, jumped up, was looking great. And then we have this, month and a half drought now, and it's just been cold, and my yard really hasn't started to look that much better than it did April 1st. I mean, that's not true. It looks way better, but it doesn't look like I feel like it should right now. So I am having to fight with patience in a big way in terms of just letting nature take its course. Also, you'll be fine breaking if you do break the 1/3 rule from time to time. And that's kind of something, so I think a couple people have touched on it. Like, I'm drawing a blank on who did it now. Budget Lawns did the 5 rules of lawn care that he breaks, and I think Kenny Cooper actually did a video where he took his bluegrass putting green from 2 inches down to 1/8 of an inch, and it did fine. And I think that's something that's maybe important to contextualize, is all of these rules are best practice recommendations. They are things where if you do them all the time, you are giving yourself the best chance of success of having a nice yard. However, you don't have to do every single one of those all the time. When it comes to mowing, the more often you mow your lawn, the healthier it's going to be, the happier it's going to be, the better it's going to look. But if it gets away from you from time to time, if you got to scalp it from time to you got to hack off a bunch of top growth from time to time, you're going to be just fine. Where you're going to run into issues is if you're doing that all the time. If you're always letting it grow up and cutting it back down, then you're going to have some issues. If you have to do that once or twice a month, every so often it gets away from you and you got to, hack off quite a bit, you're going to be just fine. Yeah, hey, that actually, I mean, I don't know where you are in relation to Waukegan, but that's where I'll be picking it up from and then bringing it back here. Yeah, Papa Moslow, that's awesome. And I'm really, I hope that's helpful to people. That Pramaxis bottle, when you look at it per ounce, is quite a bit more expensive. And that's what I talked about in the video. It's like 4 times as expensive as the gallon bottle of T-Nex. But if you don't need 128 ounces of a product, especially a product that you're applying, on, I think, bentgrass fairways, it's like 1/4 of an ounce per 1,000. Bentgrass putting greens, it's 1/8 of an ounce per 1,000. I think like Kentucky bluegrass and the main cool season grasses is something like 1/2 ounce per 1,000. So unless you have a massive yard, it's a lot easier to swallow $34 every so often than $163. Depending on what your financial situation is. Obviously, if you can buy the bigger gallon and you're going to use all of it, that's a better play. But for a lot of people, being able to make that, especially for something that's going to be a new thing, like you mentioned, best of luck with. So really good luck with the first application. I wouldn't worry about it too much. And actually an interesting thing out of the study is that I had read is basically that it didn't show that the application rate really mattered in terms of how long it kept the turf under regulation. So I've seen some people say that if you apply more, you're just going to get a longer period of regulation. This UW-Madison study actually didn't say that. It said basically it didn't really matter if they put down additional product. They still got about the same response in terms of the control and then rebound. So I think too, if you are going to start using that, so basically it said 200 growing degree days will always keep the grass under regulation. However, it wasn't until 560 growing degree days where the maximum rebound was. So somewhere between 200 and like probably 500 is where you want to be reapplying. And you can go to, if you just like Google a growing degree day calculator, you can go to, I think it's Syngenta's Greencast, and they have that. You just plug in your like area code and they'll tell you how many growing degree days have elapsed for the year. You just mark the day that you applied, add 200 that, you'll be good to go. 800 is pretty, yeah, I mean, for the condition it was in, it was good. I mean, I feel like anytime you can get a greens mower in that like $600 to $1,000 window, if it's in decent shape, I feel like you've done pretty well for yourself. Fairly cool until this week, but been getting pretty frequent rain events, so things are growing nicely. That's nice. Like my bluegrass up front it's not even all like up to the same level yet. Like I'm cutting off some of it, but it hasn't even all reached mowing height yet. Getting a new oh, hey. Also Backwoods, I think he's finally been able to get a couple mows in here, which is exciting for him up in Canada. But yeah, I'm also interested in what cultivar you got. Nathan, I don't know what year it is. I know it's not the years that Brett talked about where they had the magnetic bed knife. So it's an actual like screwed on bed knife. So it's not in that like 5-year period. I'm going to guess it's like a early to mid 2000s, maybe late 2000s model. It's a 522A. But I haven't looked into what year it is to know for sure. Honestly, I don't particularly care. But the Honda motor runs really well. Also, so does the Kawasaki motor from 1989 on the Greensmaster, so that's pretty cool. Oh, you keep your secrets. Meme. That's probably smart though. We won't ruin the surprise for everyone that's here. So, what I'm thinking, I mean, we've had a couple people talked about the things that they've been doing, but anybody else get any cool projects in over the weekend? What's everyone been up to? I know Backwoods got, I think, a mowing on the putting green for the first time. I got another cut on the fairway today, which was fantastic because all the weeds are starting to die off finally, and those are getting out of the way. So it's letting me kind of see the grass that's back there, and it's starting to look really nice for what it is, which is a completely left alone and untreated area of yard until this spring. Has never had a pound or an ounce of fertilizer put on it. Never had any weed killer back there. Never had anything done to it. It's been largely in the shade. Some bent grass has crept back in there and a lot of weeds. And already by mid-May, it's something that I'm cutting at 4/10 of an inch. I haven't top dressed it. I haven't done anything. Cutting it at 4/10 of an inch and just living the dream back there. I think that's gonna really fill in and be a cool project. Would you recommend it, Jacobson? I don't know. I think if you have the option to, so I'm not a small engine gear type guy, so I don't want to really make a declarative statement. But from the video that Brett did and in the times I've heard him talk about it on his live streams and kind of what I've seen from other people and my own experience, Jacobsen makes a much more complicated piece of machinery, whereas the Toro and John Deere are very simple and very easy to work on. So they're all fantastic pieces of machinery. I even have an 8-blade that I was using to cut at 1/4 of an inch on the putting green, and it cuts fantastic even with only the 8-blade at that height. It's a great piece of machinery. I think once I get it back and all the bearings or whatever was wrong with it is all fixed, it's going to function extremely well. I think the 8-blade actually cut the fairway section better than the 11-blade Greensmaster has been cutting the fairway section. So it's a great piece of machinery. However, I think if you plan to do any work on it yourself and you're not a super handy person, I would say you probably want to lean towards John Deere and Toro, just because they are simpler machines. Nathan Locke says, have a late 90s Greens King 522. Changed every belt, even as recent as this past weekend. Here's will have a belt as well. I actually just changed drive belt this weekend. Nice. Nate, maybe you can buy replacement belts from our products. SKUs, it's not as daunting as a task as you might think. Just need to know how to take out the engagement latches and remove them. Yeah, that was the thing where I was like, every now and then I'll get kind of brave and think I'm going to go out and try and fix something. And so since well, Nathan, it worked. I'll get to that in a second. So I was trying to see if I could get things off to maybe get the bearings out and see if that was the issue. But yeah, because they put the engagement like clutches on the outside of the panel that you need to get off to get to the belts, it just felt really daunting to try and do that myself. And maybe it was something I could have figured out, but as I was messing with it, it didn't feel like something I was going to be comfortable doing. But what happened to your Greens King when you engaged the clutch? What didn't work? So actually everything worked. So what I think it was, basically it made I have a video earlier on that I did where I left the sound in of me mowing, and it made this horrible, so you may have seen I always had hearing protection on when I was using the Jacobsen, because it made this horribly loud, like grind, like really like buzzy vibration grindy sound. And I know it wasn't real to bed knife because I even had that completely backed off where they weren't even making contact, and started it up, and it really struggled to spin. So somewhere in the process of driving the reel, because if I just engaged the drum, just the drive system, didn't make the noise. So it would almost even like bog down to just get the reel to start spinning. So I'm assuming it either wasn't greased properly and I didn't do it when I got it, or like the bearings are just shot and needed to be replaced. Or it was something in the fact that it was and like to try to cut paper or to try to do anything like that to move the reel with my hands, where like on the Toro I can just spin that thing and it'll spin freely on its own. The Jacobsen, it was a lot of effort to get the reel to spin, and it would not spin freely. Like whatever you moved it with your fingers is all the further it was going. Let's see. Matt Dawson, remove the old paint from the garage. Going to paint tomorrow afternoon. Nice. Is there a reason why you had to remove the old paint? I feel like that's an axiom of painting, is you just paint over the old paint, unless you needed to fix the walls or whatever. But that's cool. Water my lawn and didn't need it, just wanted to test the sprinklers. Yeah, were you just looking for the ambiance to get out there and have a beer backwards? Just get out there and flip the sprinklers on for no reason? Grace Ortiz, how's it going? Thank you so much for stopping by. Sprinklers are one of the things I have not gotten out yet to test. I don't have in-ground irrigation, so it's a chore to get it all ready. Yeah, I actually have an 8 head setup to water my top dress and overseed on the side yard, all above ground. So I just got hoses on hoses. 200-foot hoses go from my spigot off of a T that screws onto the spigot. Then 200-foot hoses are screwed into that. Then they go over to the first heads in the two zones. and then each of them are connected. There are 3 additional heads connected by hoses from that. So I have 2 zones to water that whole area. I did break down, I think on Wednesday, I watered my front yard just because it was getting so dry, and that pine tree really monopolizes a lot of the water from that section. So I wanted to, I wanted to give it a fighting chance to stay as green as possible until the real rain started to fall. That's exactly what I did. Yeah, I figured. That's right. That's a new addition for you, right, Pat? That's the Swordman's a new thing for you. And yeah, Nathan, maybe a quick question for you on getting those clutch pieces, the engagement levers off. Is that like as hard as it feels and looks like it might be? Because there's the tiniest little nut in there that I don't think I have the tool to take off. And that was the thing that scared me. And so I put the plate back on and just said I'm going to take it somewhere. I think Arden 15 would work as a putting green. That's my goal this year. You inspired me to try putting green. So, Cal, I appreciate the question. I appreciate you being here. I am not a warm season guy. So I don't know anything. When people talk about, the only thing that I like know is putting green stuff is like the TIFF dwarfs and like the dwarf Bermuda variants. I have no idea which of the other Bermudas is going to make a good putting green. One thing I will say is that from when I got the green to a 1/4 inch is when it started to really kind of feel like I was putting on an actual putting green. So I would imagine a lot of Bermudas are probably going to be fine down to a 1/4 of an inch. But again, I know very little about warm season grass. One thing I will say is I do know that Bermuda is hardy and alpha, and you cannot kill it. So what I would suggest is just send it. Just try. Cut it down to 3/16 of an inch and see what it does. Nate Nissan, welcome back, man. Appreciate you stopping by. Yep, that's awesome. Pat, congrats on the new reel mower. That's cool. The powered reel mower game is a game changer, a life changer, and I can't get enough of having a powered reel mower. It's awesome. It's addicting. Oh, it's addicting. I want to reel mow my whole yard. Rain barrel setup. How can I get pressure to the hose? Maybe a utility pump. That sounds like a question for Backwoods Lawn Care, because he is in the chat and he has a rain barrel setup for his sprinkler system. I don't do that. I think Ryan Nora also has a barrel, like a 250-gallon drum that he collects rainwater out of. And I think just like a whatever Amazon pump, or if you have like a Harbor Freight or something, grab any pump. Those are gonna. I mean, you really only need like 40 or 50 psi to run sprinklers. And I think most pumps are going to be able to do that. So, it's chipping pretty bad. 60-year-old garage door with about 20. Okay, fair enough. That makes sense. So on mine, which is the late 90s, early 2000s, after you take off all the 13 mil bolts that hold on the drivetrain plate, use a hex tool, loosen both hex screws. Okay. I don't know if that sounds exactly like what I have. Email around. Yeah, that's actually Papa Muzzle. That's a good point too, is to ask. I don't know what that leaf blade looks like on Arden 15 to know if it would work cut really, really short. Green is creeping bent grass. That's awesome, Nate. One thing I will say is that bent is aggressive. That stuff is, because I did a little top dress and had some bare spots in the fairway that was still there from last year. And there's a ton of runners and well, not runners, that's not the correct term, but there's a ton of like new plants coming off rhizomes in the bare areas. That stuff just takes ground. I don't think it takes ground like Bermuda, but it's moving sideways pretty good. Ball bearings create that clicky feel when you turn the lever. Okay. Yeah, I figured it was bearings, but I figured I could just take it to a dealer, have them, like, I told them to just go over everything, replace everything that looked like it needed to be replaced, and just don't call me until I have a largely new greens mower. Okay. Nice. Yeah, maybe I'll mess around with something like that again, but it did not feel like something that I was qualified to do. One thing I need to do, I need to get a stimp meter because my green is rolling extremely well right now, and it's like 40% dirt. So I do the lawn YouTuber, lawn Instagrammer thing where I'm constantly taking pictures from like a distance and across the green, so it looks like it's all completely filled in and beautiful, but it's actually fairly bare. And even in that state, it rolls extremely well. Rolling a 200-pound machine with a roller on the back of it will get it nice and smooth real quick. Especially since I've done, I think I've done 5 top dresses on it. So there's a pretty decent sand layer on top, so that reel can really get it nice and smooth, and it's mint at 5:30 seconds. I'm actually even a little bit below. I'm at 0.15 of an inch on the green, 0.4 on the fairway. So I had actually, this is really funny. I had a person talking to me on Instagram. I was just going back and forth with on like, there's somebody that's kind of thinking about, and I think somebody mentioned getting into having a putting. Oh, yeah. Never mind. Sorry. So I was going back and forth with somebody just like, okay, what do I need to know? Like, what can I expect? And what's the best way to go about trying to have real grass putting green in my backyard myself? And apparently they also reached out to the local greenskeeper at a local golf course, and the message that guy got back was like this, I can get it for you, but they only sell bent grass in 20-pound or in 5-gallon buckets that are like 20 pounds of seed, and that's probably like a $300-400 worth of seed, and it's just super expensive to get it. You can't get it in small enough quantities. You're not going to be able to manage all the disease problems, and it needs to be cut short, and all the mowers are expensive and you can't afford them. And I've talked to a bunch of people that have tried it and whatever, and they weren't able to do it. He even said, which just feels like a lie, but he even said someone that he talked to that started a backyard putting green, that person paid somebody $15,000 a year to manage their one backyard putting green because they couldn't figure it out themselves. And I just read this message laughing, like, it ain't this hard. It's not anywhere near that hard. I'm literally doing 5 minutes of maintenance a day, and then maybe 4 or 5 times a year I put in 2 hours to do a couple other projects. It's not hard at all. And Pencross, you can get a pound of it for $15 on Amazon. Okay. I don't know if my chat allows links from anyone from me, so you might not be able to link it. But maybe I'll circle back from you. Straight up, and they essentially engage the belt and drive. Yeah, I kind of figured, I understand generally what they're doing, but I didn't want to mess around with getting it off, because I struggle with, if I have something that functions, I struggle with taking it apart and potentially breaking it and ending up with something that doesn't function. So that was kind of my hesitation. You know what? It works right now. I'm going to get it fixed. I'm going to get another mower to fill the gap in while it gets fixed, and I'm just going to leave it at that. But that's good to know that it's something that can be done. Yeah, I haven't actually been able to find a distributor that lists the price, but I tried to reach out to Baron Brugg, and they just Dick Hembade me with the old "not today," that they weren't gonna send me any seed for free, which I don't blame them. They shouldn't, but I can't hurt asking. And they only sell in the pails basically, and through distributors, and none of the distributors list prices. But I know the seed, I know Seed Superstore used to have a blend of bent grass that was $200 for 5 pounds or something, or $200 for 2 pounds, or it was obnoxiously expensive. So I'm going to assume it probably is all about like that. But it's quite expensive. Yeah, Nate, that's actually the exact same size as my green. My green's about 450 square feet, and I've only ever bought one 1 pound bag of grass seed, and then everything else was the existing bent grass that was already there. And seeding rates for bent grass, because it's like, I mean, you're essentially trying to get flour to spread on your yard. Like, bent grass seed is laughably small. You're literally basically trying to figure out how to get your spreader to spread sugar onto your onto your ground. And so it's like, it's only a pound per 1,000 is the seeding rate for bent grass. Nice. Yeah, I'm pretty sure like the fancy bents are very, very expensive. United Seed for KBG, 25 a pound from Outside Pride. Do you know what, Nate, do you know what cultivar you had? We might have had this conversation last week, and I apologize if we did, but I don't plan on overseeding or doing anything like that, because at least in my mind, the current location of the putting green is still kind of temporary, and it's going to move back to the parking lot at some point. And at that point, I'll probably do like a fancy bent grass seed, and maybe at that point my channel will be big enough that somebody will return my calls and send me some seed. Let's see. So yeah, Nathan, I appreciate that. Maybe you on like Instagram or something, you get an Instagram account or somewhere where I can maybe DM you at some point if I ever feel like doing that myself. Also follow me on Instagram if you don't already. Jason Cyberlick. I post a lot of just like the pictures of when I get done mowing, or, you know, whatever, to kind of keep everybody up to speed. The stuff that that's probably not going to make it into a video. Just snap a pic and throw it on Instagram. That's awesome. Ryan, is your plan still to keep the fairway just your existing like ryegrass or whatever it is? Or are you going to go bent grass fairway as well? Craig Shrey, appreciate it. Happy Sunday. Appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much. True putt creeping bent grass. Okay. Or creeping bluegrass. That's right. I forgot you weren't bent. What height do you cut at? Or maybe when I do that, I'll do like a chewing fescue or something, like just way out in left field that nobody would expect. But if I'm honest, I really like the bent to this point. I like having it. I like what it looks like in the like area that's cut at 0.4 of an inch. I like what it looks like on the putting green. It's just a good looking grass. Dog shit at 2+ inches, or realistically at anything over an inch, it looks awful. Gets diseased and lays over and kills itself. But shortcut, it looks amazing. Replace their bent grass greens with Bermuda because of the disease pressure. Yeah, you do have to be on top of that, and I have disease in my backyard right now. Yeah. Yep, no, I knew that. Nate, I actually recognize your name. I'm trash with names, but I did recognize your name. I'm better at it in the world of social media than I am in person. Because I will forget your name immediately if I meet you in person. That's just who I am. £110. That is a lot of grass seed. Is your yard really that big? Isn't PRG like 5 or 10 pounds or something per 1,000 to seed? That's a lot of real estate. 3/16 of an inch. Okay. Yeah, that's a good height too. I was pleased with everything at 3/16 of an inch as well. One thing I'm not able to figure out is if I'm going to be able to complete the journey to 1/8 of an inch with my current topography on the green, because I think there's a couple spots where like, you know, it's a gentle mound, but a couple spots where there's just a little bit of like a mound that looks like it might be scalping a little bit at 5:30 seconds already. So I don't know. We'll see. Honestly, I've treated the green like I've been really, really hard on it. And one thing I'm learning is that it is a lot more resilient. All grass is. All grass is way, way, way more resilient than most people give it credit for. But the putting green is holding up too. And it's just like random wild bent grass that was already there. Who knows if it's even a variety or if it's just some like common bent grass or whatever that's been here for 100 years. Okay, yeah. I suppose with PRG you need a bunch of it because it's not going to solve its own problem. You just every problem you have, you got to seed it out, which I would find very annoying. It's the one reason why like I want to try ryegrass and fescue alone just to see it and just to experience it, but like I'm so spoiled with the fact that I went with Kentucky bluegrass right away, and then the other things I'm doing are bent grass, where like the stuff just fixes itself. And you can have big bare spots that'll just fix themselves if you just leave them alone for long enough. All dirt, no sand. Yeah, Nate, what I've been doing is, so I did like just to bring it up to a level of smooth enough to be able to cut at that height, I did 4 individual top dresses last year. And then the 5th top dress that I did this year, I aerated. So I have a little 2-tine Yard Butler manual aerator. And then went around the green with that and punched a bunch of holes and then swept sand into the holes to try to kind of start to amend the soil composition to get it a little bit sandier. And I'll probably do that at least once more this year and then probably the next year as well to just try to get a good like kind of sand base. Specific cultivar I'm hoping for? Honestly, I have no idea what any of the cultivars are. So I don't even know what any of them are to be able to hope for. Just anything. I know Barenbrug has just been very involved with the lawn care YouTube community, so that was why I reached out to them specifically, just because I know they've gotten involved with some other channels, and I figured I'd at least reach out and see. But I think they have like Bengal is probably what I'd go with from them. Otherwise, I don't know if Mountain View has started to do quite a bit of stuff within the community as well. If they sell some variety from somebody, but in terms of like research on which, I'm not a big NTEP research guy. Like I'll research the stuff I need to know. Like I said, I read an entire University of Wisconsin-Madison study on plant growth regulators and like how to apply those. Like I'll do the research I need to do. But in terms of like researching grass type, that's just not, that sounds like watching paint dry to me. So many videos to make. I feel the same way, Backwoods. There's so dang much to do around here. Sorry I'm late, man. No problem at all. Lawn Maverick, welcome. We appreciate you stopping by. A4 Pencross 007. Yeah, that's gibberish. And also James Bond. I don't know what any of that. I mean, I know Pencross just because that's what I bought from Amazon, but other than that, I don't know anything about any of it. Maybe something I will do before, like if I make a more permanent destination up top, because that could be, I think I could be as big as 2,500 square feet up there for the green. My plan is not to make that whole area putting green, but to have it be like some fairway, some green, but we'll see. Maybe I just make it now that I've had the one that I have. I know that ideally it would be a little bit bigger. So the question is just how much bigger? Are you not a fan of White Claw? Hard seltzers are good, man. There's no need to hate on hard seltzers. It's a fantastic, like, Saturday afternoon and it's 100 degrees outside kind of beverage. On a boat. It's like a perfect sitting on a boat type bev. Yeah, Papa Mo's low. Actually, by the way, if any of you have ever actually talked to whoever runs the Bender's Lawn YouTube channel, but we got to bring back Bender. Let's start that trending somewhere on social media. Bring back Bender. That was like, he never said a word in any of his videos. Just filmed himself taking, I think he had Kikuyu. He's Australian. I think he had Kikuyu. And just filmed himself, like pretty much every week, he did a video of him mowing the lawn and putting down some sort of liquid fertilizer. And I found that so awesome because it was like super bare, and that's a creeping grass type as well. It kind of looks St. Augustine-y, but apparently you can cut it short because he was cutting it short. And then he did some plugging and all of that, and it was really, really fun to watch just the progress of like every week he'd check in and you'd get to see how much more that grass had spread. And Papa Moslow, to your point, like those, like the creeping grass types are just fantastic. I had like a foot wide by like 15-foot trench where I filled in a root that I took out that had sunk, and KBG filled that all in by like July. It's fantastic. But yeah, I love that kind of like where people will just track those grasses, either be it St. Augustine, be it zoysia, be it Bermuda, be it whatever. I'm trying to do it this year with my Kentucky bluegrass. So every week I'm taking a picture of my last fall's Kentucky bluegrass seeding. And then every week I'm also taking a picture of the fairway, so that basically we'll be able to see, like, watch the KBG just walk itself out, and watch the bent grass like walk itself out as well to fill those bare spots in. But anyway, to my point, bring back Bender. We gotta get a video. We gotta see what the yard looks like. It's fun with practicing. What? Fun with practicing stip patterns in the fairway. What is, oh, stripe, that's a typo, got it. I am a very smart person. Yikes. What was that, you talking about your triplex? I saw that video of you just zipping around in that thing too. I'm jealous. Somebody in Chicago in the Chicago area is selling a triplex for like $2,700, and every time it pops up on Marketplace, I like twitch a little bit because I want to buy it. Somebody's also not too far from me selling a 60-inch 2016 Gravely Pro Walk, which that I very much want to buy because that would be fantastic. You imagine out there with 60-inch stripes in the front yard on that bluegrass. Woo! Let's see. As a part of I've introduced a lot of content on my channel, and there's a fair few of you here, which I really appreciate. So while I got a decent number of you here, I've talked a lot about what I've done on this property, but I haven't talked a lot about myself. Anybody have any questions? Anything? I mean, any questions about literally anything? What do we want to know about me, about my yard, about any of the grass types I have, about any of the projects I got going on? What do we want to know? Let's rapid fire some questions here. Lawn Maverick, I filmed I filmed a video. I was going to, excuse me. Let me just collect my thoughts for a second. I was going to do something on the Headway G, and putting that down because that's what I used, and kind of comparing it to the Bulletproof strategy, since it's the same active ingredients between Disease X, azoxystrobin is in Headway, and then propiconazole from the BioAdvance is in Headway G as well. And so it's kind of a twofer. I think it's working, but I had a pretty good disease problems already. And when I put it down, it was probably a week until it rained, so it took quite a while for it to get watered in. So we'll see how well. I need to get another fertilizer application down. I did a pretty light app a couple weeks ago of the Yard Mastery 12-12-12. But I think I got to get a good strong nitrogen kick here, especially now as we move into like a good window of growth where it looks like we should get some rain and we should get some temps that'll kick it off. Papa Moslow, what do I do for a living? I am a bank examiner for the Department of Treasury, a agency with a very, very long name. It is the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Yeah, Nathan, I know. I'm fighting the urge to shortcut my whole yard because it is so much different. Like, it looks different, it feels different. I wouldn't expect the Headway G to have any PGR effect. I don't think either one of those do that. but I could be wrong on that. That's just not something I'm familiar with, fungicides having that type of impact, but maybe they do, and I just haven't heard anybody talk about it. Again, just so we're clear, the entirety of my lawn care knowledge is just acquired from watching an immense amount of lawn care content from other people. So I've just learned via the transverse property of equality, not actually any research of my own. Except for that PGR growing degree day study that I read. That was the first like actual research I've done. That's what I said. It does look better, absolutely. But I don't have an irrigation system, so there's some benefit to the longer turf come summertime. Because I can get away without watering pretty much all summer here. Ryan, yes, to some degree. I mean, my I don't know if supports it is the right idea when it comes to is the right word when it comes to my wife, but is perfectly like not upset about it. That's maybe the easiest way to like not, isn't bothered by the time that I spend outside making the yard nice. And all of the like my video editing is all done. Like this is the time that I would be down here editing videos. It's just now I'm live instead of editing a video or doing whatever. So I kind of keep all the hobby time to the evenings. Pat, yeah, absolutely. And I've learned quite a few lessons myself by just trying stuff and seeing if it worked, and also learned quite a bit from doing things incorrectly as well. And then the kids love having YouTube. Anytime my son can think he's a big YouTube star and get in a video, he loves it. What is my favorite movie? Oh man, there's probably a lot by different genres. I think I always. Oh man, it's probably going to be a comedy. It's probably Grandma's Boy. I think Grandma's Boy is probably my favorite movie. Is it the greatest movie of all time? Do I think it's that? No, certainly not. But first time I watched that movie, I was absolutely crying for like the first 45 minutes. It's one of the funniest things I've ever watched, and I still really enjoy it. If it's not that, it's probably like Caddyshack or Step Brothers. One of those. Let's see. I think you could modify a walking reel mower to cut lower than a 1/2 inch. Most are only 5 blades. Yeah. The Great States says it actually will go to 3/8 of an inch. So the Great States reel mower has wheel settings that each wheel setting then has. There's a little piece that goes on a little bracket on the back wheels then. And then those, so you basically have 3 different height of cut settings at each wheel setting, and it'll go down to a 1/2 of an inch. And there's like a little oval for the lowest setting, and it says you can go down to 3/8 of an inch, but that Great States really starts to washboard already at like 3/4 of an inch, and it really washboards at a 1/2 inch. So with a 5-blade reel mower, I think you'd really struggle to get that to cut well at anything much below that. Favorite movie? I answered that. If you could only use one club in the bag, it'd probably be the Tin Cup 7-iron. That's just going to be the best. You can get it laid open and still get some loft on it. You can hit it far enough. It'll serve as a putter all right. You got to go Tin Cup with the 7-iron. What's up, Clint? Neighbor Dominator, appreciate you stopping by. I saw you actually. I think it was you anyway that posted the video of you using that for, I don't know if your Alex not working or in storage or just whatever conditions you had that you didn't want to use it. But yeah, I saw you using that thing. I like it. It works perfectly well, and I think those like $80 to $100 manual reel mowers are the greatest products on earth. For one, because a bunch of people buy them for $120 or $80. I mean, a Great Stays is $80. And then at all times, there are like 30 of those things on Facebook Marketplace, and you can get one for $20. And it is the perfect gateway for every one of you, anyone that watches this, anyone, to get into and try reel mowing for the lowest barrier to entry as well. That's what I did. Basically, I picked my 2 side yards next to my house, the little sections next to my house, just to see if I could mow every 2 days. Like, can I even feasibly mow every 2 days? Is this something that is an option for me? And I think that's a great way where you can experiment with $20-$30, see if it's something for you, and then you can make the decision to really invest, $1,000, or, if you're going to get an Allett or Swardman, $2,500, something like that. Then that it's something you can do and you want to do. Lawn's looking better now that it rained on Saturday, and we're finally getting some temps. But my bluegrass in the front hasn't even all made it up to mowing height yet. It's not even all 2.5 inches long. Just the weather this year's been so goofy. And yeah, the Great States does washboard pretty bad. You can't get going fast enough to get a 5-blade manual reel to spin fast enough to get a clip rate that's going to mow smooth. Nah, didn't do the stick check. I joked about that in the weeknight lawn work. Although honestly, there's no chance you could ever make sure that you get every piece of mulch and every rock and every thing out of your yard. It's probably just a matter of time for everybody. Brad G asks, where did I get my mower height gauge from? I got it from R&R Products. For the reel mower, I have the AccuGauge. What's it called? It's not digital, analog. The AccuGauge analog height of cut gauge. I would recommend it if you're going to be at greens height. If you're going to be, sub 1/4 inch, I would recommend it because at that height, accuracy matters. At 1/2 inch, I would go and spend $3 on a 4-foot piece of straight iron from Home Depot. Get yourself a drill bit that will cut through that, and then get a nut and a bolt. Put that through, and then measure it, much like Real Low Dad, Lawn Tips, all those people that have made the kind of DIY height of cut gauge, because those work just fine for 1/2 inch. I was actually pretty accurate with the one that I was using to measure to 1/2 inch, and that's going to save you the better part of probably $120. Lawn analyst fighting a few things, but hoping this fall when I can get it into shape. Nah, don't wait till fall. Just do it now. Do whatever you need to do now. I was talking with Clint about this. I don't think I'm ever going to do a fall seeding again. I have my summer seeding, I have 2 spring seedings, and I have a fall seeding. And of those, far and above, the worst outcome that I've had is the fall seeding, by a lot. I have a ton of problems over there that I'm going to have to deal with all of this year that I was able to deal with much more easily when I did spring seeding, and you just deal with those throughout the growing season like you deal with the same problems in the rest of your yard. I am no longer a proponent of the fall overseed, even though I know that's the best for cool season grasses. Not going to do it again. Let's see. Use the manual and cut both ways. Yeah, you pretty much, if you want it to look anywhere near anything decent, you got to double cut with those manual reels. Ubecky's Lawn, hey, from Australia. What's up, man? Appreciate you stopping by. That's awesome. Ryan says, my wife just commented how I'm always smiling when I watch lawn care videos. I mean, if you're watching stuff that you enjoy watching, it's going to make you happy. If you're watching stuff about your hobbies, it doesn't matter what that hobby is, it's going to make you happy. Let's see. have the same height of cut gauge. It's pricey, but yeah, it's like $70 more for the digital one, which I don't like. It's not necessary. Once you start to learn how to read the tenths dial, and then get that kind of dialed in with, then you're going around in the thousands. It's really easy to read. So to spend an additional, it's like $200 for the digital one. It's already $140 for the analog one, and it's not like it makes it really that much easier to use because it's digital. And yeah, Neighbor Dominator talking about how his spring seating just popped. Mine just has now as well, and I was talking about that earlier, that I'm going to finally have grass on 100% of my side yard, or the old weed stripes. I think anyway, it's germinating throughout, and it's starting to look pretty good. It took that rye because of the conditions. It took the rye like 14 days. I feel like all of my seeding from now on is going to be like May 20th to June 15th. Like that's just the window for me, and that's what I'm going to do here in my northern climate. If you're in like Carolina, Missouri, Kansas, somewhere like that, and you're going to do seed a cool season lawn, you probably still want to do fall, but our summers aren't that extreme, and our falls are really short, so I'm going to do spring seeding from now on. Pat agrees. I think he's from a northern climate as well, if I'm remembering correctly. Line Analyst, am I correct in saying that you are a more southern individual? It's hard I do my best to remember everyone and where they're from and what kind of grass they have and all of that. Papa Moslow, appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate the kind words. We'll see you hopefully next week. Okay, Nate, that's a good point as well. Fall overseeding can probably help you the fall. You're really probably looking to the next spring with fall overseeding, but yeah, that's kind of my thought. I think I've been very impressed with what you're able to accomplish in a single season. Okay, you are okay. My apologies, Central Illinois. So yeah, get after it now. Do whatever you want to do now. I don't think it's hot at the end of August. Yeah, especially up here, because I think Detroit's going to be about the same as Milwaukee from a latitude perspective. So I would imagine we have fairly similar conditions. Because even I did the first section in the weed stripes that didn't have any turf in it, that I tilled and seeded last spring, that I didn't water at all summer. And it thinned out pretty good. Like some definitely died off, but right now that section looks amazing. Let's see. What do I have all coming up here? What am I trying to accomplish? So I need brother-in-law, low cost, low effort applications are going to be coming in here within the next week or two whenever I can get over there. So now is the time for you cool season folks. I think now is the time when all the weeds are up and growing vigorously that it's time to spray them. So I'm going to be doing the weed control with the Spectracide weed stop for lawns plus the crabgrass preventer. Also planning to do a video, since I have both right now. Spectracide has an orange and a yellow cap, talking about the differences, talking about why you might want to use one over the other, and then putting down the 10-10-10 on that property as well to get its second feeding of the year, and then start to get some of the weeds under control. And then hopefully those should really start to turn around. And that was, I know, around like mid to late June, July was when the weed stripes really started to look nice. So I would imagine we'd get about the same thing coming up here in the project lawns and bringing people along for that kind of cheap and easy beginner lawn care program. JP Show Pro, what's up, man? Appreciate you stopping by. So let's see. I'm gonna open it up for any and every question, any and every topic we want to talk about. If I get a couple comments or questions, I'll continue talking here for a little bit. Otherwise, it's gonna be about time for me to wrap up here this evening. So get your final thoughts, your final comments in the chat. We'll get our last couple of thoughts in here, and then we'll wrap up. A lot of things will need to go right for it to happen this spring. Yeah, it's also a matter of time. But one thing I will say is depending on what goal you're trying to accomplish, Lawn Analyst, like just doing the applications that you need, I feel like cool season grass will really turn around really quickly if it looks bad. Crabgrass in your greens or teas, what would you use as a post-emergent? I did not use a pre-emergent on the green. Probably should have. I'm hopeful that, because I think I do have some problem grasses, it's not crabgrass. But the question was, if let's say you have crabgrass in your greens or teas, what would you use as a post-emergent? I don't actually know, because I know quinclorac, which is a great control for those types of grasses, will kill bent. And yeah, I don't know any other. I don't know what you use. I'm hopeful that with a lot of those problem grasses, as the bent fills in, getting cut that short, those types of grasses are definitely not going to be happy mowed at that height, and they just get out competed. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. But we'll see. That's going to be a lesson I learn as I go through the first full season with this putting green, since I didn't start until July last year. Favorite liquid fertilizer? The only actual true like liquid fert that I've used is 402 Florigreen. That's the only like nitrogen liquid fertilizer that I've used. I've kept most of my fertilizer applications to granular, just because my property was so neglected that I'm very, very, very low on most macros. So I need to get like a lot of pounds out there, and liquids aren't going to do that. I have used a fair bit of like humic and O2. I know the responses I've gotten from O2 microgreen are really, really good. And then I've just used like humic acid, humic 12, aerate, RGS, those types of products, which I've been pleased with so far. Finished putting out some soluble humic handheld spray with some chelated iron and a little 29-715. Is that a liquid? That's a macro combination that I haven't seen before. Who makes that? Oh, favorite brand? I can only speak to Next, Green County Fertilizer. I haven't used any of the other ones. Hydrotane, should I? Probably. Kind of depends on your climate. I've never seen anybody say anything bad about it. It's pretty spendy. If you're in like a northern climate, it's probably not necessary, because the summer isn't all that extreme where you need to have that kind of tool in your tool belt. But if you live in a dry place or a warm place, I don't see why not. Yeah, Nathan, I'm really not sure how I'm going to deal with that problem, because I don't know what post-emergence you have access to, since you can't use quinclorac on bent grass, or fluazifop, which is another one that'll take care of problem grasses. You can't use that one either. Putting green fertilizers and when? I do my same backyard program. So every application that goes on my main yard goes on the putting green as well, because it's just a part of my backyard. So far to date, the putting, actually, hold the phone. I'll bring it up, and I'll actually be able to talk to what I've done so far. Let's make it bigger so everybody can see it. Where's OBS? I need to change the scene. All right, so here are the 2020 applications so far, noted by location that they were put down and the application cost, and also the cost per thousand of that application. So this is how I track things. I like to be able to go back and see how much that I've spent. So the putting green has seen aerate and RGS very, very early. 323 would have seen aerate and RGS again on the 6th. A 10-10-10, just a generic all-purpose 10-10-10 fertilizer from Home Depot on April 7th. Then we went humic and 402 on the 23rd. Grubex and Headway G would have been whole yards, so that would have been the putting green as well. So that was the first disease application, would have been there on the 27th. Then I did what I intended to be a light application of the Home Depot heavy, like synthetic nitrogen fertilizer. But I didn't think it all the way through. So I was like, I'm just going to put a pound of this on the putting green, not thinking that that's 2 pounds per thousand and actually over a half pound of nitrogen per thousand on the green. But I did that on the 2nd. Then the 5th, we would have gone the 12-12-12 at, let's see, 2.6 pounds per thousand across the whole yard. First PGR application was on the 6th. RGS and Aerate again on the 12th, along with, oh, this was a big hit on the 12th. Aerate, RGS, 002 microgreen, and 402 Florigreen. So here's actually, this is every application total. Let's see, what have we spent so far this year on the whole yard? $393. But the bulk of that is right in here, because I'm including the dirt that I put on the side yard as well. And also disease and grub preventatives are expensive. So yeah, what's that per, what have we done per thousand? Actually, sorry, let's act like we know how to use Excel. About $100 per thousand on average on the yard here so far. So there you go. That's the type of fertilizer program I'm using, where it's just getting the main like macro fertilizer applications that I've been doing on my whole yard, and then it gets some additional love in the interims. Yeah, Nate asked, would they even survive at the height of cut? That's what I'm hoping. My 4 years of my green ice only ever had a few weeds on it. Yeah, I just don't think anything can grow on putting greens. Really, that's a problem, because it's just cut so short. None of that stuff can survive. How can I check to see what species my 3 different areas are? Thinking it's a combo of Kentucky bluegrass and different types of rye. I wish I was better at that. I have no idea how to identify any of the grasses. Brian Mounts, actually, from Turf Mechanic, has done a fair bit of that on like really dedicated comparisons to the grass types. So I know rye is going to have like one side of the leaf blade is really shiny. Kentucky bluegrass is like a medium-sized blade, very soft, and a very like deep green, almost blue color, hence the name. And then fescue is going to be a little chunkier, a little thicker. Nathan, are you sure about that? Because the only thing I can put together is the orange cap Spectracide product has quinclorac in it, and it is not labeled for bentgrass. The yellow cap doesn't have it, and it is labeled for bentgrass. So I was assuming that was what the difference was, but maybe I'll look. I'll look at like a, what's that, Drive Accelerate, that's just quinclorac. Maybe I'll look at that label and see if it's labeled for bent. But that would be really good to know if quinclorac is actually okay for bent. If I misspoke earlier, I apologize, but I'll look into that. NutriSpray, Solid Turf Booster, and FE given to me from my friends on the golf course. Nice. That's sick. Yeah, Brad, this was something I started a while ago just to kind of like it's my lawn journal that I keep. Okay, that's good to know. Appreciate that. But yeah, it's my like lawn journal. So I have, I also track rainfall in that spreadsheet. So I have all the rainfall that's fallen in 2021 on here. I have all my soil testing data over time, so I can track that over time. The brother-in-law plans. Clint, to your point, I don't really have a plan either. I just know I'm gonna kind of just, basically all my plan is I'm just gonna try to address soil test deficiencies. So I'm just going to put down things that are intended to hopefully correct soil test issues. And then, yeah, once the color starts to fade, I'm going to put a heavy nitrogen down. And if it's the summer and hot, I'm going to put some sort of slow release organic down. That's pretty much the extent of my planning. Somewhere in May, I'm going to treat weeds. The only reason I have like a plan is because I wanted to do that. I wanted to outline and be able to have and be able to price the beginner program, that's a $25. Here, we can bring you back. Let's bring the screen back. So the brother-in-law plan, actually, hold on. Let's take the screen away. Sorry, bear with me for a second here again. We'll wait for that to load up. Okay. Now we can bring the screen back. All right. So this is the brother-in-law, the basically beginner lawn care program. And this is the only time that I really put it together. And so this is like an actually outlined, and granted, I've already broken this because it got so hot so early. I had to flip these two. So I had to do the pre-emergent a little bit earlier because it got warmer earlier than it normally does. But this is the entirety of the program. It's 10, 10, 10 in the early spring, because I'm assuming these are beginners that have yards that haven't had any fertilizers. So they're going to be very nutrient deficient across all the macros. So let's get them all down. That is a 10 pound per 1,000 application. Then Scott's Halts at the label rate. Then the Spectracide weed killer along with the May application, which actually, again, these are flipped. June, a heavy nitrogen fertilizer to really kick it in and get it growing. Spot treat any weeds that were left over from the May weed kill. Milo in July and August. And then another heavy nitrogen synthetic in September, and then another 10, 10, 10 in October. And that is the exact plan that I ran on my side yard that basically flipped that to all weeds and looking horrible to what ended up being a pretty decent looking yard at the end of all that. So that's the only time I've ever really outlined a plan, because I'm intending for people to use it and follow along. Do you use T-Nex? Not T-Nex, but I do use Trinexapac. I have used Trinexapac Ethyl one time from a product called Pramaxis Mech, which is just a smaller bottle, so it's cheaper to buy once. And I wanted to experiment with it and see what was going to happen. So I've used that once. I will say I have definitely noticed a massive difference in terms of the amount of clippings I'm getting off the putting green, because that was what I used. I used it on the putting green. And so put that down at the labeled rate. And then I think a good rule of thumb is 200 growing degree days from based on a 0 degrees Celsius calculation. So let's see if I can. I'll maybe try to bring this up to show folks. Sorry, the mechanical keyboard in the background is going to be very, very loud. So here, is this is Greencast from Syngenta. You can get this freely available to you. For cool season, I'm going to use 0 degrees Celsius because the Madison study that I read used 0 degrees Celsius for bent grass in my area. And I'm going to do 200 growing degree days is when I'm going to reapply. So I applied on the 6th, 2021. On May 6th had 430, and I know my camera's kind of covering it, but you can see it there. Had 430 growing degree days on the 6th. So I am going to wait until I get to 630 growing degree days and reapply at 1/8 of an ounce per thousand, because that's the recommended rate for bent grass putting green. But basically every 200 growing degree days, if you want to always keep your turf under regulation, you would do the labeled rate at that amount of time. The only thing is, if there are certain grass types where you have to go really heavy, like maybe Bermuda, you have to go really heavy, you might not be able to do it all season long because you may run into some yearly maximums. But I'm not familiar enough with the product to know what that is or when that might happen for you. Nathan, fun fact video on my channel, you can buy less than a gallon. Pramaxis Mech is 12%, is 11.3% Trinexapac ethyl concentrate. And it is an 8-ounce bottle for $34 rather than a gallon for $163. So if you do the math, it's more expensive per ounce. So if you're going to use it all, if you make it all the way through a T-Nex gallon, it's better to buy a T-Nex gallon. But if you're using small quantities and you just want to have it and have it be a smaller purchase each time you buy it, would recommend it's the exact same. It's 11.3% Trinexapac ethyl. Pramaxis Mech is the product. But yeah, I've been really pleased with what I've seen so far, but I have very little experience with it. And that's the extent of my knowledge. All right. Well, there's still some things I need to get done here this evening that will take me long into the night. And so with that, this has been, as it has been every week, just fantastic to hang out with all you, talk lawn care, talk about what we're doing, talk about what I'm doing, answer some questions that are within my wheelhouse and experience to be able to answer, get some information. Yeah, Clint, just reach out to me on Facebook. I don't really know if I understand it either, but I understand what I need to know in order to apply. So yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I can't say it enough. I really sincerely appreciate all of you stopping by. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm going to plan on doing this every Sunday night at 8 o'clock Central or somewhere around that time. One of these weeks, I promise I'm going to actually put the stream reminder more than 2 hours before the show goes live. And yeah, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all next time. Have a great week.